Hello, hello. Well, it's definitely been a while since I've done a video, mainly because things are happening in my life. Got a new job, which is exciting, and just kind of been relaxing more. Older I get, I find that I'm just enjoying life more. uh, but that's to say, like, the passion is still there to draw, and let's just have at it. So, one of the fears we face as an artist when we look at a blank piece is just trying to draw lines. So when you're trying to conjure something up, usually it's always fine to just draw random lines. Now there are tons of ideologies and teachings on how to go about constructing whatever form you have, but in the end it's you, the artist, or if you're getting into art, whatever schools you're learning or whatever resource you're learning, they'll teach you a specific way to do that. And it's just there to build you comfort. It's not really there to be seen as a hard and fast rule, because over time you'll find that your taste will change or mature, because you will start not learning to draw things that you like or subjects that you enjoy, and the more you become intimate with it, you'll find new lights, new things to draw from it, and that is just a sign of progression. But personally, I always find like this, when you're starting out with a new subject or even with a new software or a new way of thinking, it's always exciting just to get right into the nitty-gritty, because from there you're kind of producing the raw, unfiltered, unbiased stuff. And so I wouldn't see things that you start out when you're drawing as mistakes, but rather just fun, exploratory drawings. Really nice and exciting when you do that kind of stuff. And so currently right here I'm basically drawing my biases over human form, because I seem to default to that in a very standard boring pose, but I'm kind of just trying to figure things out, just looking at these shapes, trying to understand what I can come from these shapes. And that's what's happening here. And you can see I'm very messy, very loose, because I'm trying to understand what I want to draw. Now my biases are usually fancy, so that's why I put like the sword or some symbol or semiotic of a weapon. In the end it might be something else, but let's just keep that for now. And we have the hand here. Ooh, excuse me. Alright, so we have this interesting shape here. How can I develop this more? Well, I started drawing circles, and currently, drawing circles like this. Everything's also live currently. Live. So, bear with me as I might change this drawing over time based on, like, how I feel. Because I can. Alright. So, we have an interesting base here right now. And what's going through my mind is, well, where do I go from here? How do I take it from here? Well, that's when you flip it and see what hilarity lies. So this, currently, what's in my head, I'll just show you. It's like this shape and this shape are a little too similar. Like that for me, like that looks, that's not really agreeing with me at the moment. So I might move this a bit forward like that to have more of a powerful shape, or what I consider a powerful shape. So I think of enough of base here to iterate from. So I'm creating a new layer, and I'm just going to sketch over top or trace over top. So let's see what we can create from here. Now there's so many directions we can go, and again, if you're starting out, or if you're rather new to art or creativity, the things I do, I like to call gut feeling, but that gut feeling is just over the course of many years of drawing and trying to understand the subject, and eventually becomes second nature. And that's a great feeling to be at, and it takes time to get there. And there are times where, I feel like something isn't going to work out, and either I'll keep iterating until something clicks, or eventually I'll just kind of drop the pursuit because I either haven't really found the inspiration I need for it, and it's just going down this miserable path that I'm familiar with, where it's not so much as a mistake, but rather a futile effort, I guess, because I don't know I don't jive with it. So what's happening here is I am using shapes that I'm very biased with. I kind of like folding of this because it breaks the silhouette and creates more of an interesting shape this way. I'm not sure where I learned how to, or where I picked that kind of shape up, but it's always kind of fun when I do that. It feels great, per se. And like here, where there's a belt here, I'll tend to do like this, because it looks like the shirt is coming over and scooting back up. And the reason for that is, to me, it looks like it gives character, or it assigns character, like a little bit of a loose shirt there. So we have this other thing here. And this might turn into a medieval hired sellsword, or whatever you want to call it. Add circles here because I was thinking of like adding a lace like that. And as you can see here, I kind of just go into detail whenever I want, or whatever makes me feel good. That's what creativity should be about, eh? Let me put that underneath like that. Alright, that's looking kind of good. I kind of want a decorative element here just to break this shape up. So I'm just going to add a little bit of like that, just a little bit there. And this shoulder pad needs to be sitting on something, so we can probably have it either go around this person's neck, or have a sash kind of go around to protect that, or like a loop thing here. Let's try adding that and see what that looks like. So it does this. It kind of looks interesting. Maybe it tightens around the waist. It has to be fastened somehow. So maybe this is how they fasten it. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Let's keep doing that, eh? I feel like the legs are kind of long, but that's alright. So yeah, it's fascinating when you're trying to draw something from nothing. Like, I haven't actually done a lot of sketches in a while, mainly because I've started pursuing CG a lot, but it's been good in a sense when you're doing a lot of creative stuff. At first it might seem kind of scary, because I do a little bit of music. I like to code a little bit. I'm currently learning a video game engine. Sketching seems fun still to me. Do a bit of 3D modeling, some coding, basically a lot of multiple disciplines, or a generalist, I think that's what the industry term is. And the reason for that is I've always been fascinated just by communicating different ideas effectively. And I choose to use different mediums being how I express creativity. Music, arts are different mediums, but mediums of creativity. I find there's certain subjects that express it better using different forms of creativity. So let's say, for example, I personally find that I cannot express emotion through still images, but rather I find the use of music and sounds, as abstract as they are, to be the perfect form of expressing an emotion, because the complexities of the tunes create emotions, especially when you have like majors and minors. You're able to guide and tell how you feel through the use of sound. And for me, maybe it's just because the way I've developed my 2D art. As you can see what I'm doing right here, this would not tell a tale of sadness. If I was going to draw a sad picture, I find like if I had music, maybe a little bit of movement, then it becomes powerful. That being said, I find animation the most powerful form of expression because it combines all those amazing elements: music, sound, visual images, moving. And you can tell so many fascinating stories that way. They can be ominous, they can be funny. They can be a small little diary. It doesn't have to have a story to it. Or it doesn't have to have any real sense of rhyme or reason, just for things to move around. Merely for the pure medium of it. The pure exploration. And that's something that I always want to put emphasis on when I learn new mediums. That is to explore. Because sometimes I get caught in this trap, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way sometimes. Hopefully, I might be the only one, but I don't want to study too long in a certain medium. Because when you're studying, I feel like I'm not learning to express, or learning to express with that medium. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say, for example, I haven't done anatomy studies in so long, it definitely shows, but in that time, I've been able to figure out stories in my head, have had time for them to grow and mature. Because you need those stories to mature over time. You can't keep them too much in your head, because they may seem cool theoretically, but there's so many little worlds I had to throw out. You know, that's a weird way to say throw out, but like, it just wasn't fitting the aesthetics I had in mind, even though theoretically I conjured them up. And by exploring them, drawing them, I slowly understood what needed to be done, and they matured over time, years and years. I mean, there's some stories I've been working on for like a decade now. Wow, it's weird thinking like that. And it's always fine to start out really ambitious, to have all the characters in the world, but eventually I've been slowly cutting it down. And recently, with a short I did, I was experimenting. What if it was just a single character in one place? Because that's very doable, rather than telling grand epics that span, millenniums, or grand epics that span several locations around the globe. The intimacy of a single character in a single location becomes a character study. You'll definitely understand what the character is all about by the end of that. And I think that is very powerful as a storyteller, to be able to just really workshop a single character. Their desires, their faults, their strengths, what they like, what they don't like, how they feel, how they, get into mischief, how they react to certain situations, the growth, the journey that they have to undertake. Wow. What a dream. I think that's really exciting for a single character. Of course, you're going to introduce new characters. This is just me, though. This is me learning after doing or thinking about many stories. And I think it's like there's the popularity of, movie universes, so you probably have the same thing, like a story universe, where you can have like a small instance of a story, but you love that world that you're creating. It's like ripe, completely ripe for stories. Then you can just create another story with that world, follow the same rule set, and explore it more. And that's what I tend to like. That's what I tend to do. I think about all the little stories in the world, in this world I'm creating. And then I just branch off of it. And eventually you can have stories where perhaps characters connect or they cross paths. I like to think of stories like real life, because there is really no giant narrative. It's just a series of events strung together in some sort of narrative format with theories of what people think happened. But in the end, are they just all circumstances? Do they just happen because it needed to, rather than someone forcibly thinking about, like, yes, these are the tales that needs to happen, I need to do these things and coincidences will do it. Maybe that's why I'm starting to enjoy documentaries, because they're just a series of events and in the end I learned something. So with this character I'm doodling around, I really have nothing in mind. I'm just kind of like reacting to the shapes and following my gut. And if you're new to art or new to creativity again, it's something that you'll start doing once you've built up a library of images in your head. What do I mean by library? Well, when you do little studies of the human face and skull, you'll understand that there are certain shapes or symbols. And now there's different types of artists or different types of mentalities, and I know a couple are where you have a deep, true understanding of what each understanding of the subject and how things move in a form, and another which I feel like I'm more like this, where it's symbol based. Well, I remember shapes, but I can't remember exactly what the things are called. I'll just remember exaggerating some of the shapes here, and I recall teeth will be here, and these eye sockets are here, and there used to be these things here. I don't know what these are called. And I'm sure people who know anatomy are like, oh, I don't know, what are you doing? But I just like exaggerating shapes a lot more. I think that's something that I'm very passionate about, just weird shapes. And eventually, as you further your journey into this artistic world, you'll find something that you enjoy. Find something that really, really clicks. And when it does, ooh, what a glorious day that'll be. But in the meantime, it is a long and perilous journey of existentialism of why am I even doing this? But it's always good to remember why you got into it. For me, I remember a little story here. I was in school and somebody was drawing. There's a movie that was released called Small Soldiers, and they drew one of the characters. It's like, oh, that is so cool, how did you do that? And they showed me step by step. And from that day, I was blown away. Wow, you can really do this with art? That's crazy. And he was a fantastic drawer, too. It was middle school. So I remember that day I got my pens and papers and drew, photocopied, and it's gave those sketches of the small soldiers I drew to all my friends, hey, look, I drew this. I was forever thankful. I can't remember his name right now, it's been so long, but I remember it really inspired me. And I just enjoyed drawing. Just for the sake of drawing. There's nothing more. And the reason why I think initially got into the industry, like the art industry, I was in or animation before I left for games or video games, is I really wanted to recapture that joy and see if I could continue that. But no, job's a job. I don't want to get too into it, there's a thing I saw, it's why would my dream be that of labor? And that really stuck with me. Rather than saying stories and stuff like that, oh, what's your dream job? I'm like, my dream job? And I used to have oh, should I be an art director? Should I be a director? Do I keep as an artist? But then I realized, why do I, why is it labor-based? What is your dream? What are your dreams? Well, for me, I'm slowly getting there. Where it's like, I just wanted to reclaim my 2D back to myself. Because I got caught into the trap of trying to make it profitable and trying to make myself look good with my portfolios. And of course, that's needed as an artist. If you're looking for a job, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do, but you will fall into the trap of always trying to churn out images that look like they could be potential portfolio pieces, rather than exploring a unique voice, or that voice that you put on the wayside because you needed to silence that voice to get a job. And I've definitely silenced this voice for a while, and now it's starting to perk up, it's starting to sing a bit more, and I'm really happy. I'm really embracing it, and I'm trying to nurture it a bit more. Sure, it may be odd or weird or different, but that's subjective, man, isn't it? That's what all art is. So now, why am I doing these little shapes here? Well, I love Warhammer, and some of the Chaos Space Marines have these like triangular shapes, and I feel like it's a beautiful thing to like break up the shapes. And like this thing looks kind of flat here, I can always like bump this out, but at the same time, well, it doesn't always have to do that. Again, go with gut reactions. So this little doodle is starting out pretty cool. Let's erase the skull here. What else do we have here? Well, I can draw some lines to accentuate the form. Oops, excuse me. That's a cool trick. So, I tend to like do a lot of vast open spaces, and you can see here, and it's kind of hard to see or read the form. So a good trick, let's just show you here. So let's say if I have something like, whatever, like that, and you can't really tell what the form is. However, if I do lines like this, it's kind of like bending. Now this looks like it's like that. So then if I start adding like little forms like this all around, lines to describe the form, you can kind of get more of a three-dimensionality of what that form should look like. Anyway, it's pretty cool. Yeah, lots to talk about. It's funny, like let's see, what was I talking about? Like in terms of getting so caught up with the medium itself that you need to learn all the cool tricks and techniques. I really wanted to get really good at cartooning, and it's very hard to do that because it's a whole different rule set. And you'll find, let's say, if you focus so much on anatomy and trying to get everything believable in real proportions, the whole world of cartooning is completely different. It's a whole different set of guidelines. I don't want to use the words rules because it's not concrete. They're just suggestions of like what is appeal, what is not appeal, what's the communication you're trying to do with a certain character. Are the items that the character has make the character, or is the character itself, or the features that make the character? It's really a lot of cool things to think about. It's also very important to work with reference, which I don't have at the moment because I forgot to grab some, so this is all pure for me. So we'll see what happens. Put this here, maybe it's like a chainmail thing? Sure, let's do that. In terms of a face, I see this line here, so we could probably turn that into something. Let's try that out. Whoop. Let's do that. Let's lower, lower this a bit more. The eyes, I love doing weird eyeballs. I actually don't know why. So think I started out trying to draw anime, but then I loved like Goblin's stuff. So it's like a weird mix of both. I really liked Triplets of Belleville, and I think The Illusionist came after that. Oh, I really love that style. Like a really good stylization and caricature of characters. And I love drawing characters. Not so much of like, you know, the formulaic, like, hey, you know, you gotta do like your eyes like this, but like just weird oddities, you know? Like eyes kind of like just like that, you know, kind of like weirdly oblong faces. Me. Hopefully this character you see here, see that, but just, I don't want to see, I guess it'd be called ugly drawings? I don't know. Interesting? It's just fun doing these kind of weird things. Like, okay, we have this face here, and let's bring the cheeks in, and that. Have the nose, maybe. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Like that. Eyebrows. maybe there's some sort of grimace. Yeah. Embrace that. If you do something off or looks weird, look at it. See what makes you think it looks off or weird. Try to understand that feeling, or understand why you think it's off or weird. Is it because is this some sort of like societal thing, or is it because you're expecting something different? What were you expecting actually? You know? So for me, I felt like the mouth was a little too far off here, and I kind of wanted to just do a mouth more, I don't know, I was just curious to see what else I could do with that. And this looks a bit more friendly. Maybe have the hair coming out like that. Let's roll back. And that looks hilarious. I kind of want to erase it, but at the same time, this looks so odd. Wow, actually I might keep that. That looks so, I say, unexpected. That is really odd. I like it. I like it. Because it's so different. I just like the head like that. Like a square shape. That's hilarious. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, maybe the chainmail goes like this. Let's add. That is hilarious. Always unexpected, you know, when you don't know what you're really doing. You look at some really odd things. I love that. Okay, I'm doing that secret form thing to add like that. That. Sure, we'll just color this all dark like that. Don't want the ear here. Just thinking here. Let's do that. That's so funny. What an interesting character. Well, I think I might end it here. Rambled enough. But, yeah, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this little interesting journey of a sketch. Alright then, take care.